Pleasure to be with everybody today. Thank you very much for joining us in the first of a series of webinars that we're planning on doing here around the customer experience and trying to provide for you some practical tips, as it says there, for a better customer experience across your whole organization. The focus for today in our first session will be social media. Are you missing the conversation? How to use social media to supercharge your customer experience. So thanks again for joining us today. As stated, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. We'll address them at the end of today's session. So without further ado, um, let me go ahead and introduce myself and we'll move into the presentation. For myself here, I am a contact center or customer experience solutions engineer for vertical communications. I've got a little over 25 years of experience in the industry, had my first experience working as an end user in a contact center environment where I was helping to manage it. Uh, in those 25 years, I've moved on from not only the end user space, but representing manufacturers and implementation professionals doing installations, implementations, design work over those years on hundreds of opportunities. And for the last 10 plus years, I've been involved as a solutions engineer specifically, focused on the unified communication and the contact center as a service space. So again, pleasure to be with everybody here today. What we'll be covering for today, agenda-wise, is first understanding what is social media, who's using it. Then let's take a look at it from a couple different perspectives. The first one will be from the customer's perspective and what their expectations are. We'll then rotate over to the business side and what the expectations are there and what we're trying to attain. From there, we'll say uh, some points of view relevant to who's in charge of the social channels within those businesses, and then come up with some solutions, hopefully, for you on how to supercharge that customer experience. And finally, finish with a little bit about who Vertical is and how we can do to assist you with what we will discover over the next few minutes here as far as this agenda is concerned. So the first component, what is social media? So doing a little bit of research, probably one of the best definitions I could find for it was from Tufts University here. And when you're looking at this, uh, see a couple key terms. We're talking about interactions, and with those interactions, talking about creating, sharing, things like that. The key thing is that we're doing these with virtual communities and virtual networks. This is not your old Kiwanis Club or your church bake sale or other means of social gathering in the past. And this is all done via virtual platforms and channels in order to be able to do that. Now, what we're going to learn next is the fact that social media is not just one big lumped in category, but there really are 7 different types of social media that are out there being used actively in the world today. The first of those is our traditional social networking sites. These are what you use to connect with family and friends. You're going to use these for your personal human to human interactions. You're going to be sharing thoughts, pictures, things like that. And the most common ones you see are the largest ones typically in the world. It's your Facebook, it's your Twitter, LinkedIn, and for much of the world, WhatsApp, with SMS not really being a worldwide platform, used primarily just in the United States, North America. WhatsApp becomes a great supplement instead for being able to share messages back and forth. So worldwide, WhatsApp is extremely popular. The second type of social media that I want to discuss with you are known as social review sites. And here again, you have a community of members that are being brought together. And the key use for these are being able to provide reviews on restaurants or hotels or services that are being provided or companies. Key thing with these review sites is that you're typically looking at this from the customer's point of view. So if you're a business, you can see what the perception is of you and your brand from these sites. So it can be, quite reactive of what you're able to attain. The ones I've got listed here, for examples for you, are Yelp, TripAdvisor, Angie, formerly Angie's List, and Glassdoor. The next social media type that I wish to discuss with you is image and video sharing sites. If they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, then that's what these are going to help supplant for you, because the whole idea for these is to amplify the power of your message with the image that you present. So, for this, businesses can leverage these sites quite often by actually encouraging users to maybe do a hashtag or a picture, something that is showing their product in use by one of their customers and enjoying the use of those. And along with that, Instagram and Snapchat are the two big sites that you will see when it comes to image and video sharing. And if one picture is worth 1,000 words, then try streaming thousands of those pictures together. And that's what we get with the next form of social media. Those are your video hosting sites. So here, the whole idea here is to allow creators to be able to put together content, share it for optimization, and try to get their message across. I know myself, I personally purchased a camper trailer here in the last few years. And one of the key reasons I did this was because with one of these video hosting sites, the provider of that showed me in a series of videos how easy it was in order to be able to do certain of the aspects of the trailer that I was curious about without actually having to go to the store. So we're talking about YouTube, we're talking about Vimeo, we're talking about TikTok are your primary means here of using video hosting sites to drive your message out. And here again, businesses should look for comments that are being shared from those videos if you're driving some of the content to see what the perception is of what you are providing and the customer feedback. The next type of social media I want to talk about are community sites. Now, these are similar to what we talked about before when we were talking about like Angie and TripAdvisor, except with these, there is sharing going on and there's getting your voice out, but mainly it's around discussion because you have a mutual interest. You live in the same neighborhood, so next door is a great option for that. You are in the same industry and trying to share some content around that, so you might use WordPress. Also, we've got Medium and Kahoot here as other listed sites. Good for that. Another one of the types of social media that's being utilized out there are discussion sites. Now, these here again may be similar to your traditional sites, but there's a key difference in that with a lot of these discussion sites, there's a lot more anonymity. You don't necessarily have to identify specifically who you are. And as such, the content that you see can be, in some cases, a little more blunt, a little more honest. So businesses should look for strong community groups in here for feedback on content of what their brand perception is. And the ones I've got listed here as examples are Reddit, Quora, and Pinterest. Finally, the last of these 7 types of social media to consider when getting into this realm are the sharing economy networks. So the big things here with this, you've got the ability via the technology is provided to be able to bring together people who have a common need and need to share or have access to services. So if you need a room or a house, Airbnb is a good option. You need a dog sitter, you go to Rover. You want to see if you can find something for free that somebody's trying to get rid of for free. Well, FreeCycle is a good example of that. Okay. So these are your 7 types of social media that we've just learned about. Again, each one of these are going to be a little bit different in the content and the intent. So, if you're going to be involved in one of these platforms, understand what the platform's purpose and what's intent is so you target the right audience with the right message of what you're trying to do. And then finally, understand again that some of these platforms are a little bit more proactive in the content of what you're able to generate and create feedback, and others are more reactive, such as your community sites or your review sites, where you're being able to react to what the comments are of people, what they have relevant to you and your brand. Now, next topic I'd like to talk about is who's actually using social media. And in a study that I pulled up here from this year, you can see here that your most popular channels of use for social media are Facebook, which has just under 3 billion users worldwide, YouTube at around 2.5 billion. WhatsApp, again, I noted that it's very popular in a lot of other parts around the world outside the United States. And you have your Instagram and so on and so on and so on. Key thing, if you take a look at this with your Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp, Instagram, 3 of those 4 are of different types of media. You've got your traditional, you've got your sharing content, and you've got your picture content. So, based upon what the intent and use is, you can see which ones are the most popular ones within each of those different types of media. Now, how is this going forward into the future? Well, we're about midway through this chart. And if you take a look at this, starting in 2017, we were at about 2.75 billion users on social media platforms. Over the 10-year span of which we're partway through that, that is expected to more than double to just under 6 billion individuals using social media on a worldwide basis. So it is going to continue to grow in use and expand in the desire from individuals across the globe. Now, let's break this down a little bit by some demographics. Real good information here from Pew Research. And again, as you go back and review the recording on this, please don't hesitate to look at any of the sources that are listed on the bottom of some of these pages. They've got some terrific content for you to follow up on. With this one from Pew Research, this is based on age. And if you take a look at this chart, you'll notice that the 18 to 29 and 30 to 49-year-old age groups were the early adopters when it came to social media. But after about 2014, that's really kind of plateaued. Now, where are these new users I talked about coming from? Well, it's in the latter groups you see here, the 50 to 64-year-old and then the 65 plus age groups. They're the later adopters, but they are coming on, and they're the newest groups that you see adding to those billions and billions of users that are getting involved in social media worldwide. How about if we break it down by a couple other demographics? Well, these two charts I grouped together because frankly, the charts are kind of tightly packed together. So if on the left-hand side you see relevant to race, it really doesn't matter if you're white, black, or Hispanic. You have about the same tracking of usage. Between men and women, really about the same also. How about a couple other data points? How about income on the left-hand side? Level of income really doesn't matter. And how about your education? About more of the same. So they're all fairly tightly grouped together. Again, terrific data that was found from Pew Research. This gives you a breakdown. If you go to their site for some more of the information, this is what you can get broken down. They'll take it on a per channel or platform basis and give you the breakdowns per the age groups, per the race, per the gender, per the education level, even where they live. So again, highly recommend checking out that platform for more information. So what have we learned so far? Well, we were in the midst of this 10-year monitored growth pattern. And again, the number of social media users that we have is going to literally double to almost 6 billion people within the next 5 years. Social media use has plateaued at about 75%, but the biggest growth is now in that 50 plus age group. And again, if you're going to break it down by demographics, the largest growth of what you're going to be seeing here over the next 5 years is in the 50 plus age group. All right. Now, from here, we've got all these customers potentially out there, almost 6 billion of them. What are their expectations about what they will be able to get out of social media? Well, with the first bit of information I want to share with you, um, some really good statistics here. First one, again, when it comes to discovering new brands, 55% of them are going to do so via social media. And the third one down kind of coincides with that. There's going to be a 43% increase in social use for product discovery. So finding out about brands, discovering about new products, it's all about leveraging social media for clearly, 50% of the population base. Okay. Now, beyond that, nearly two-thirds, or a little more than two-thirds of individuals expect to use social media to actually interact with these brands. And with interaction, we're talking about not just reading content, but being able to respond back and make requests. Okay. And if they have that positive experience over that social media, 3 in 4 are going to buy from that brand based upon the experience that they've had. Now, what are some of the things that customers are using social media for? Good data point here, a chart that I was able to pull up from this source. What I want you to take from this is that of the most important one, of course, on the top is the one that goes with the traditional sites. But look at some of the others that rank towards the top. Filling spare time, finding products to purchase, finding inspiration for things to do and buy, and seeking content from your favorite brands. All rank very highly on this chart. So much of what customers are actually doing and wanting to use social media for involve trying to find new things to purchase and follow those that they have interest in. Now, does that work for just about every social platform? Let's take a look at this chart again. Same data source, but you have to make sure that you, based upon who you're trying to reach, that you target and use the right social media channel to do so. So, I mean, if it's all about getting funny content out there, TikTok's your method of going, right? If you want to message with family and friends, probably not Reddit, probably not Pinterest, right? But that second column, following and researching products and brands, that's a really good column to focus on. Those are some of your media channels that are going to be the most effective for you in being able to drive your message out, if that is what it is, which is to get your brand out there and get some exposure. Okay. Now, the next thing I'm going to cover with you in the next few slides here are going to be 4 key areas around your customer expectations and how they can affect your business. So the first of those is your brand and your brand awareness and how it's promoted. Now, another really good source here with Neil Schaefer, what he found out with a large number of data points here is that 80% will purchase based upon brand. So if you're loyal to a brand and you have choices, you'll tend to stay with that brand. Okay. And new brands are being discovered through social media by nearly 1 in every 2 people. And beyond that, if those individuals have an account with you, they'll be using social media 90% of the time to be able to communicate with you. That's a huge number. So it's if you want to be able to increase what you have going on with your existing base, with the accounts that you have, you need to be on social media because 90% of them are going to be wanting to engage with you via the means of social media. The second element is around sales. Again, we're trying to generate some more sales quite often with the businesses that we're in and we're trying to support. So remember that, one of the highest uses from one of the previous charts I just showed you was that customers are going to be utilizing social media to be able to do research on products to buy and brands, and also following their brands. And one of the data points I got to help support that from the studies was this one here. Now, it's only specific to this age group, but it was found uniformly across all the groups that I was able to do research on. In that 18 to 29 group, half of them admit to buying something because of responding to a social media ad. They're out there, they're doing the discovery, they're doing the research, And sure enough, they'll make the purchase half the time. Now, is it more just about the initial purchase? Not at all. Even with upsells, the use of social media is a key contributor. With this data point here, interactions, that's that two-way give and take. So it's not just a matter of putting stuff out there, but it's a matter of getting the responses back from the customers and being able to handle those responses effectively. Those will actually help with your sales by driving 20 to 40% more upsell spend than you would have with just an initial sale. And this last point, customer service. This was a stunning number that I came across in my research here, and this is something I think you really need to take to heart. 70% of customers expect companies to use social media to provide their customer service. That's a staggering number. So think about that. They're reaching out to you and they're asking for, product support, they're asking for content, they're asking for additional information, they're asking for troubleshooting. They're looking for components that are customer service related, and 70% of them expect to be able to do that via social media. Now, when they reach out to you, is it good enough to be able to respond in, let's say, 24 hours? That's what it used to be like, right? Not anymore. According to Forrester here, 71% of your customers want companies to better value their time. Everybody seems to fight with the fact that they have less and less time. And so as a result, when customers are reaching out over social media, they expect responses back in a timely manner. So 75% of them are demanding faster times. They expect to have the resources available, and very importantly, this number, that 37%, is actually growing. They expect you to be able to be available to communicate with them on their preferred channel of choice. So let's kind of wrap this last area together here. Um, Again, people are using social media to find products and follow brands. Brand familiarity drives 80% of what customers want to buy. They want to find the brand, they like to follow their brand, they're loyal to their brands. Again, 3 out of every 4 expect customer service to be a part of what's available via these social media engagements. And again, the more you interact, you will drive upsell opportunities by increased spending from customers. And finally, if you involve your customer experience teams, this will help drive revenue, and it'll also then help meet the expectations of what your customers are demanding. Again, it's two ways communication is what we're needing to do when we get to our social media here. Now, how do businesses actually use social media? Let's pivot around to the other side now. Let's look at it from the business point of view. Some fairly huge numbers here. Just to get to the bottom line of what you're looking at, essentially 9 in 10 businesses are using social media, and they're doing so to create some more exposure for themselves. Again, don't forget that this is a great way to reach imminently a lot more people than you could with any other traditional promotional method. Think of social media compared to using billboards or print media, advertising via, TV or radio, other of their more traditional methods. Uh, you really have access to a worldwide audience when you have access out via your social media. Hence the reason why you see 96% of small businesses use social media. You have that much more of an impact you can make as far as your customer base that you can draw to because it has worldwide access. Some more information for you here. What are the keys of what we're looking at here? First one's relevant to engagement. Again, 80% of the businesses say that's what they're trying to do. And when we're talking about engagement, we're talking about interaction. We're trying to get that give and take with the customer. We're putting some information out, or they're making a request from us. We need to respond back. Very important to have that two-way communication going. What happens to those businesses that have been actively involved for 2+ years in social media? That's where that second data point is really important here. 50% of those who've been using social media for more than 2 years have found an increase in their sales. It makes a difference. And with the information you can get from that, the last data point, you can now make some strategic business decisions because you can see which social media content and channels are working best and get some responses more directly from the customers themselves. You have direct connectivity with them. Is it all about marketing? Absolutely not. That's where we have thought of social media being handled in the past. But in reality, all of these teams that I have listed here have got key stakes that they need to be involved in to be successful for your brand or company in a social media sphere. Sales, again, we've seen that there's upsells and initial sales opportunities with your sales teams by having them actively involved in your social media programs. Customer service, again, don't forget 70% of your customers are expecting the customer service teams to be available to assist them with their needs. Okay. And that means going beyond your traditional methods of voice and email. Product managers, terrific use of social media for them because now they can better listen and understand what the customer's needs and uses are for their products and can be more reactive to what the customer demands and needs are. And finally, with leadership, now they can get some data points and better understanding of brand status, brand market sentiment, and their positioning to know what they need to do on a larger scale in moving their brand forward. So, what are some of the key points that we've just talked about? Again, 90% of the businesses are using social media for their marketing. Of those that have been involved for more than 2 years, 50% of them have seen an increase in sales. So when you're going to go out there, make sure you target the right channels for your market. If you're not involved in social media yet, you're already behind 9 of your 10 competitors. And again, there should be more than one team involved in your social media ventures as you go forward. Sales, customer service, um, product marketing, management, as well as leadership all have key stakes in what goes forward with your social media. So today, who's actually handling the social media at the companies? Well, in doing some research, what we found is there's typically five, and it all depends upon the type of company you are. If you're a Fortune 500 company, then you've got an in-house dedicated social media team that is out there putting out the content. They've got the processes in place to be able to handle the requests that come in for tickets, for customer service, for sales, whatever may be the case. But not everybody's a Fortune 500 company. So let's drop to the rest of us. For your other major brands, you'll typically then see the communications department brought in. And those are the folks that are putting out the press statements when they've got their financial records that are going out on a quarterly basis or some other news about changes in management or whatever may be the case. They're really good at driving information out, not so great in what being able to take the information that's being driven back to them. For a lot of the smaller companies, this is where we sit here as it's your office administrators. They are the folks that are in charge of your day-to-day operations. They've got a lot of other things to do within the office, and then they're also told, well, you know what? We've got our Facebook site and our Twitter site. Can you make sure if anything comes in there, you pass along any requests that come through here? If not that, if you haven't got the ability to have those dedicated sources, but you really want to have some focus, there is outsourcing capabilities now too. You can actually hire professionals that will do this for you. Finally, probably the most prevalent means of use of who's handling social media is your marketing departments. They're the ones that have got the human resources to be able to do this and typically the budget to be able to drive out the content. But here again, they've got the least amount of experience in being able to have the process in hand in order to be able to handle those engagements. Because remember, it's supposed to be two-way. What do you do with the responses that are coming back now? Okay. And when you're talking about those marketing departments, now you're normally dealing with the CMO, the chief marketing officer, and a army of interns. Somebody named Brad, right, who's out there and been told, yeah, you know what, keep an eye on the Facebook feed and let me know what's going on. Not the best means of being able to handle all this. So if you have all these teams possibly involved, let's give them some better tools. Well, what kind of tools are we talking about? Well, we need to have some tools that are going to be able to provide aggregation. And what I mean by aggregation, this ability to take, your Facebook, your Twitter, your WhatsApp, all of these different feeds that you're needing to monitor, and let's drive them into one application, something that's easy to read and easy to react to. And when we're doing that, let's also put some queuing capabilities, and that's a second tool. With queuing, now we can send the requests to the individuals that have got the best strength for what you're looking for or who have the longest availability. Some efficient means of being able to distribute these interactions effectively. And now that we're going to be getting all of these and we're going to be trying to funnel them into a tool that can handle all this, we should be able to get some data points, and that's where the analytics comes in, right? Now we're able to collect the data that we're getting, what types of channels are being used, what are the predominant types of requests, how are we dispositioning these, who are the contacts that are being used, which divisions are involved, all of these things. Now you can get some measurements on them to be able to know how more effectively to channel your dollars to what particular channels are working best, or to be able to quickly discover issues that are happening in the field because they've got custom requests coming to fix things. Okay. And then finally, you have the supervisory element of the tools. Those are the ability to have either real-time and or historical data points where you can see, what's being tracked, what are the outcomes, how are we doing for measuring against our goals. So I've got all of these aggregates that I can put together into some type of a reporting function. And with some of the tools, these can be done real time and of course, historically also. Also, when it comes to handling your social media, again, remember, this is not strictly for the marketing teams to handle, right? We have all of the rest of the teams that we should be involving with this, whether it be sales, customer service, support, product management. And if you're taking a look at these teams on the left-hand side, except for the top one, when it comes to social media, to this point, it's normally a secondary role. So here we have this great opportunity to reach sales and customer support and meeting customers where they want to be. And yet we've got it on the back burner as a secondary role with a lot of businesses today. So how about we take it to the forefront? How about we supercharge that customer experience? Okay, let's make it a part of the forefront of what we're providing out there for our customers and for our brand. Okay, so how are we going to be able to do this? First one, again, remember that social media requires two-way engagement. It's not simply a matter of being able to take a promotion that you have and putting it out there on a site and hope that somebody pays attention and clicks on a link. You need to be able to go out there and promote what you have, but also provide the means to have your customers interact back with you and do it efficiently and do it in a timely manner because their time is valuable. Okay. Also, don't just leave it to the CMO and Brad to take care of this. This takes the coordination of multiple teams. We need to bring in all of the other customer experience teams, especially the professionals that are used to handling this, such as your customer service teams, to be able to engage with your customers. And finally, remember that they're using social media, they're expecting immediate service. Okay. That's, their time is valuable, respect their time and get it to the right individuals in a timely manner to get the responses back, which will help with the initial sales, which will help with the upsells, which will help with the brand positioning. all of those key components. So how are we going to do this? Recommendation wise, again, let's bring in our customer experience teams. They're the ones who are the professionals who know how to quickly respond and to do so efficiently. Now, they're going to best be able to do this if we give them the right tools. And the right tools mean the ability to have applications that can blend in their voice, their email, their chat, and their social media all into one tool that's easy to handle. And we have to personalize the experience. And I'll show you what I mean by that here in the next few slides. Very important data points I'm going to be showing you here next. What is the current state of our CX world? This was amazing research that I found here on this particular site. How many bad interactions with a company would you consider before switching to a competitor? I had to read this one verbatim because of the data. 60% will give you up to 2 bad interactions before they move on to someone else. 2, that's it. How about 3 or 4? At that point, 95% will walk on to someone else. You don't get a lot of chances to get it right. So we need to try to get it right the first time. Now, what are the things that they're going to be complaining about? What are the things that are going to affect their perception of you and whether they had a good or bad experience? From the same study, long wait times, can't get to an agent, have to transfer to a supervisor. So these things need to be fixed. So we need to improve this customer experience as best we can the first time you meet with them. Now, what's the perception otherwise about customers relevant to how we think about them? I put both of these together because they're very similar, but yet very powerful. The one on the left is, do you think that the person on the other side of the line really knows or really cares about you? And on the right-hand side, do you think that they really know anything about you? Almost neck and neck. 2 out of every 3 don't think customer experience professionals know or care about the customer on the other side of the line. And that's as of today. What channels should we use? Well, currently, this is a breakdown of what channels are being used, and that big blue one you see on the bottom, that's the predominant one we have been accustomed to for years and years and years, and that's talking live to an agent on the phone. But you'll notice that it has been shrinking. The other means of media seem to hold fast, about the same number for telephone self-service, about the same number for email. But the 2 that are growing, now they're smaller, they're toward the top, but they're the 2 that are growing are chat and social media. So we need to start engaging more of those because that's what customers are expecting. Remember, that goes back to the comment I made earlier. Meet the customers on the channel that they desire. So what are the tips that we've learned from that? Again, we need to try to minimize those bad customer interactions. Bring in your customer experience teams because they're the professionals that know how to handle the customers best. You need to respond immediately and do so with tools that can blend all of those media channels we just showed you. You still need voice, you still need email, but we need to have chat and we need to have social media added to the mix if you haven't done so yet. And how are we going to personalize that experience so that the customer thinks that we care about them and that we know something about them? Let's start to bring in integrations with the tools that you already have in place, whether it be a customer relationship management software, employee relationship, ERPs, whatever may be the case. Whatever tools you currently have, let's bring those integrations in for use by your customer experience teams. Okay, great. Now we're going to do that. We're going to add some more tools. Let's watch out and make sure we do it smartly, because what we found with this study here is that the majority of contact centers, whether it be small, medium, or large, are going to have anywhere from 3 to 5 or even more than 5 applications that they're having to surf around between in an interaction. Now we want to add social media. Now you have maybe 5 channels. You want to add 5 more interfaces to this? Sounds like a lousy idea. So what we need to try to do is try to consolidate these number of applications that you have. Maybe you've got one that you're using separately for chat. Maybe you've got one that you have for voice and you're doing a separate one for email. That's not good. And here's why. Because the more screens that you're having to go between your email, your chat, your social media, all of these things, the more screens that your agents are having to surf between is going to increase the amount of time that takes for them to answer. It's going to increase abandonment rates, and it's going to increase the amount of time they have to spend on each call. That's driving down efficiencies, and that's driving up costs. So what if I add web chat and I add social media to my mix? Doesn't that sound expensive? Not at all. According to studies that have been done, you've actually find out that web chat and social media actually cost less on a per interaction basis than dealing with agents on the phone. So don't hesitate to add voice and your digital channels. It'll save you money by adding your chat and your social media. You want to combine these into a one desktop tool to make it efficient so we can keep the economies of scale down so that your agents aren't having to go between different applications on the desktop. And it should be done with an efficient tool that also can bring in your other customer relationship tools so you can understand who the customer is when the interaction comes in. And you can react to them and be able to have a good social interaction with them the first time. Now, who is Vertical Communications? Again, we are a comprehensive communication provider. We have decades worth of experience, and we've been able to do tailored solutions to meet any business's needs. As such, we are not just a vendor. Okay, we are your partner. We are a solution provider. We want to be your trusted advisor. We are here to listen to you. We want to understand what your needs are. Because it's important to us to get it right the first time. Because if we get it right the first time with you, then you get it right the first time with your customers. And that's all of what we're trying to do here is get your brand out there, get the exposure out there, increase those sales, and provide the best experience possible for any customer interaction that comes in, whether it be a voice, email, chat, or, as we've learned today, social media. So what can we do as far as that is concerned? Talk to us about as providing a simplified app for you. We've got multiple solutions that we can do this. Okay, that can combine all of these tools for you. And again, it's all about trying to provide the best customer experience the first time around.